I'm Isaac, this is Nate, James, and Gary, and we are the founders of Clever Kaiju, and today we're going to be talking about the tools we use in the sketching process.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you do it.
I like that version. That was good. Cut. No. So first step in the Kaiju gathering was to get honorary mugs. So congratulations, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee. And whatever else you put in there. Cheers. Step 2 was getting a badass banner. That's pretty cool, right? Can we say badass? Have we decided? We can say badass, right?
Yeah, you
can
can
say
say
badass. Okay, yeah.
Bad's bad, but ass is okay.
Badass is okay. Bad's bad. So congratulations on throwing together this little space. This is where we usually find ourselves talking about stupid stuff, important stuff that we should be doing over there. But I'm glad to have you guys. At the very least, you all keep showing up, and I've been in enough bands to know that that's a big deal. I had to buy everybody's instruments. Just like, please, just show up. So no, this is really cool. And I was thinking about a lot of the different things that we do, the different unique approaches that we have, our completely different art styles.
Yeah.
Oof. So completely different art styles and completely different approaches to doing it. And out of all of this, like, I feel the least. And I'm the Tony Stark guy, apparently is the nickname he gave me, is of all the hardware. And for being an artist, I really in the last few years have leaned heavily on the digital stuff, like my laptop, my desktop upstairs, the iPad, everything I pretty much go to digitally. And I think, James, you definitely can relate to that.
Yeah, digital. So.
Yeah, that's what you teach, right? You made a profession, yeah. So we made professions out of doing digital art, but that's not to say that I don't have like a collection of traditional things for conventions and when we do shows and stuff together. And honestly, my setup is very minimal. What I keep in my backpack all the time, little mechanical pencil, little dude. And it's not even that fancy of one.
I can record that for you. Why don't you put that on the camera?
All right. It's not even that fancy a one. It's a little zebra. They come in ink pens and mechanical pencil. I think this is a 0.7. Yeah, it's a 0.7 millimeter. It's not even a legit. It's a normal like blue collar mechanical pencil that you can beat up and stuff for like mechanics use it. My dad used them for decades, and I like the metal of them and the weight of them. There's a lot better out there, I know, but these are the ones I can find anywhere in like packs of 20.
What brand is that again?
They're Zebra, but I think
Zebra.
Yeah. This is the M301. They from ink pens and pencils, they're just heavy enough, but not too heavy. But what I get the most questions about, whenever I'm doing, when I'm working at a table, is this little guy. This little gray massive booger. And this is, and a lot of artists know about it. Here, I'll show it here. A lot of artists know about it. Several artists use it, but I don't actually see a lot of artists actually use them nearly as much as I do. But I get a lot of questions about what that is. And usually because while I'm working, I'm doing this number with it. I'm usually like squishing it and playing with it and stuff. It's like a stress reliever. And that's usually what my answer is. I was like, oh, it's just a stress reliever. I just keep it in my hand. And it does smell. It's kind of a polymer clay based material, right? But it's very formable. The more you work it, the more your hand heat gets in it. It gets a little softer. You can make whatever shape you want out of it. It's pretty neat. I tell people it's years of wadded up chewing gum that I keep for good luck behind my ear in between conventions. I tell people it's toe jam and lint that I found in my shoe that day, and I couldn't stop playing with it. But ultimately, I finally do get around to giving the answer, and it's a kneaded eraser. It's an eraser.
It's needed because you have to use it.
Well, KNEE. So as in like kneading, you know.
Yeah. What art student hasn't formed some kind of little creature or
absolutely
figure or smiley face?
You can ask my wife.
Dinosaur.
Yeah.
You can ask my wife. I have made roses out of this thing. For her, I've actually made more art with it than I have actually. See if I can get this to work. But I've made all kinds of cool little like flowers and roses and stuff out of it. It's been a while since I've done it, probably 20 years. Because look, I had to win her over somehow. Yay, clay flowers. Isn't that cute? Yeah. Anyway, so I've and it's just something that I can do this with, and it's a stress reliever.
Yeah.
But this thing is incredible. I love using this thing. There's a lot of other different erasers out there, and I like it because it doesn't have that shavings, like the rubbings that you have to keep brushing off. Never once. Like, that's one of the biggest benefits. You can just rub on it and it's done. I don't know if you guys have experience doing like blank comic covers. Actually, I know for a fact you do.
Yeah.
But we have friends in that do run and own comic shops here locally, and a lot of them, whenever they get those blank comic covers, nothing says like damage me more in shipping more than perfectly white covers. So there's a lot of them that just get thrown out.
Yeah.
But we've had shop owners who are like, hey, I got some beat up ones, some scuffed up ones here. You can just have them. And this little guy will clean up.
Yeah.
It's like a magic eraser.
Yeah.
I have saved so many of just getting like heavy shipping scuffs out. So this is the thing I keep on hand all the time. I'm always messing with it. Like I said, I play with it more than I actually use it. And I'll always have it, even though I'm a strictly digital guy. But
one of the cool things that I love doing with it is that if I'm going to ink something, I'll take it. And I actually learned this trick from an inker. I wish I can remember his name, but he used to ink the Avengers like back in the 90s. And he would take that and roll it out. Can I see that for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He would take that and just kind of roll it out like this. And he had a big one. And he would make it long in some cases. And he would take it and just roll it across his pencils. And then he would ink over that.
Yeah.
So the pencils were eating up a lot of the ink.
almost like creating like an opacity.
Yeah.
Like
your own onion skin.
Yeah, like an onion skin effect on it. That's clever. That's really good.
Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna use that. So.
That's handy.
Yeah.
All these years I've had one, I'd never considered that.
Yeah, I didn't think of it either until he showed me. I was like, oh, right. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's next, man? What do you got over there? You have a pouch.
Well, so when it comes to penciling, I mainly do comics, and I usually work just right out of this bag. I forget what the brand is. It's pretty handy. It's got lots of pouches inside. And I will work out of this bag because I will even work at my dining table with a lap board or just wherever I go. I've drawn comics and inked comics on my steering wheel, on my lap with my handy thing. So I'll show you guys here.
He's not lying either, ladies and
So
gentlemen.
I've got microns. I use an 08 sometimes, usually for borders. But I keep everything I need in here. But the main thing today is with penciling. And how I manage my pencils, I use the kind of eraser that you do get a lot of shavings from.
Yeah, the ones that annoy the crap out of me.
Yeah, I don't mind the mess.
But it works.
And this is what they tend to look like over time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But they clean up everything so well.
But they work really well.
and
Yeah.
they just cut into anything, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't mind that. And I do sometimes use other erasers, but sometimes I'll use a blue pencil. I've used a non-photo blue, which is good for reproduction, like scanning it in and not having the pencil show up. But it's so light. Sometimes I'll just use this blue. Lately, all I've been doing is Tombow mono pencils. I love these pencils. This one's a 5H, and I got sometimes an eraser on the end of it.
That's
for quick touch-ups. Yeah. And I use a 5H because it's very hard and it doesn't smudge, and it's also very easy to erase, and you can push very soft. But another thing I do with it is if I'm going to put out like perspective lines, I can push harder, and then that doesn't erase very well because it kind of digs into the Bristol board.
Yeah.
And so if I'm penciling on top and I want to erase and clean up, I sort of have my grid there still, but in a way that I can still erase enough when it's time to scan it in and after I ink it. But if I need to clean up pencils even further, I don't want to have to push hard with my 5H. I'll switch to an H, same pencil, Tombow, and switch to that H for the darker and more detailed lines there. And just a simple sharpener is the best way to go.
You don't have one of those like cool mechanical ones that you do, like you plug in and it's like,
but you can't control it as well. As
You just kinda like, oh, good
manual
luck.
ones are the way
Well,
to
I
go.
will disagree. I actually have a mechanical one at home, and the trick is when it's spinning, hold on to it and slightly twist.
the opposite direction.
Yes,
other
twist
way?
the opposite direction, and it kind of gives you the same, but you have to keep checking it.
Yeah, right.
But I do like doing that sometimes, and then refining with the traditional one. So it's like I got this point that I want here, and I can round it out with this. And because I think I will say this, you do get a steadier, thicker result from a traditional sharpener.
You're right.
And it's a little sturdier compared to like
It's a little more
sharpening
predictable.
electronically. But if you are at a show, man, if you have an electric sharpener, it is the best sometimes. Because I don't want to sit there and go like this, but sometimes I'll do it and then I'm like, yeah, and it goes snap, and I'm like,
Usually with the electrics, I like them when you first get a pencil because Gary.
Oh yeah, sharpening from
You've got your blunt end,
right.
and doing it with the hand sharpener,
It's
you're
even.
like, okay,
yeah.
And so after a while, you're like, screw this. And so the initial sharpening I like to do with electric.
It's all part of
And
this.
then,
It's all tactile to me. You gotta get.
Yeah, you gotta-
into it.
Well,
You
the
like to
longest
get that
time,
good
pencils. I couldn't use a pencil unless it was actually wood. The fiber composite
Sure.
pencils,
Yeah.
they didn't
Yeah.
feel right. But
Right.
for the initial sharpen, I don't mind the electric. The best pencil sharpener are the old hand.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say that,
Yes.
dude. Like those are
And
the
you can
easiest
get those
one
at a flea market or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
like $1
schools.
sometimes.
Those things are awesome. But usually I've got that same pencil sharpener that I use as well. And then for
Me too.
maintainers, I know this is going to sound weird, but a knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done a lot. It's like,
Yeah.
I just need a little bit.
My
Like
grandmother.
traditional students do that too.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
noticed.
my grandmother did that. She always had a really like a sharp razor knife, and she would always carve her pencils because there was certain shapes. You'd use drafting pencils, those flat drafting pencils
Yeah.
that wouldn't roll off your desk. Those were her favorite, and she would always. So I would always find these just hand whittled pencils everywhere, and they stayed so sharp and they stayed reliable for so long. I never saw one of them break.
And have you ever noticed those pencils take forever to do that?
There's not a lot of sharpeners for those specific
Yeah.
shapes.
You got to get
James-
those sharpened at like Lowe's.
James, since you already shared some of your process, and I know mostly you do digital now.
I've abandoned most of the. When I did do traditional media, I was always, like I said, wooden pencils. It was very particular. Like you go to the store, you get the box of pencils, but if they weren't an actual wood grain pencil, I wouldn't use them. It just didn't feel right. Those particle, like wood shaving pencils that are formed up, they have like a weird rubberized feel. They kind of get bendy,
Right.
and I don't like them. So it's like I know it's subtle, but it just in my hand, it just doesn't.
Yeah,
But
sure.
those pencils, though, if you want to get some good black areas with
Yeah.
your lead, those things are awesome.
But for years after, Gary got me going on mechanical pencils. So normally my con go-to was Bristol board or cardstock and mechanical, the cheap Bic,
Long live cardstock. Cardstock is king.
mechanical pencils. Because I don't have to sharpen, I just click out.
Yeah.
Right.
Although I do have a tendency to push too hard.
Yeah. You're always going to get
And I'm snapping lead.
Carving shapes out of it.
Well, but when you draw and you look at the sheet below you and you still have an imprint of your character, it's a little too hard sometimes. Over the years, I've gotten better, but that was my traditional. But anymore, when I started college, we did a lot of traditional art, and then we went into the animation, and everything we're doing was digital.
kind of forced you into digital, I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
And so it was a lot
Take out the
easier.
middleman.
For my senior project, I bought a convertible laptop that I could draw on.
Yeah.
Okay, and I did all my hand-drawn animation that way. And then when I started working in the game industry, we had the Wacom tablets. So we jumped into that. And that disconnect was a little weird for me at first, but after a while, you get used to it. And I like the digital realm because I can experiment more.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you do now? With
So now my portable go-to is the iPad. Yeah, the iPad Pro. And then, just the standard Apple Pencil.
Okay.
And it's got a nice weight to it. And so
It's not wood grain though.
No, it's not.
They didn't make you a wood grain.
But they do have textured nibs to simulate
No, there's
a lot of different textures.
tons of different programs that you could use, but most of the time I'm going for the Adobe Sketchbook. Autodesk, I think is sorry, not Adobe.
Sure, the sketchbook.
Autodesk.
Yeah.
So that one there, and then I kind of use some of the same processes that you guys do, but instead of drawing, I can do my roughs, okay, and then if I need to go back and clean them up, I'll just create a new layer, and then adjust the opacity of my previous layer down. So that's the same thing as erasing, and then I'll start inking on top of that. Depending on the brush size and what I want. So it's kind of the same process, but I can just go through. And the other thing, I can do any corrections or whatever at that point.
Yeah.
And so, but when I work at my desktop, I'm usually using Photoshop as my go-to drawing, sketching, and some homemade brushes.
Okay.
At that point. So going in, and you can find tons of brushes online.
You prefer like a pencil-like brush?
There's one that I found. I'd like to give the creator credit, but I can't remember who it was. But they created like a stubby pencil.
That's right. Yeah,
brush,
you use that a
and
lot,
it's the same. I mean, it has the same look and texture as if you were drawing with a super tiny, your stubby pencil. And I really like that. So all of my, or not inking, but all of my line art is done now with the stubby brush. When it comes to inking comics, though, I kind of do the vector line in Photoshop. So I'll make a path, stroke the path with the brush, and call it good.
Yeah, at least when you mess up, you don't cry.
I still cry when the computer dies in a thunderstorm.
Oh, man.
The hard drive gives me a thing. Yes, I cry. I have worked hours on things, and see, on paper there is a save kind of, but until you throw it away. But in the computer digital realm, it hurts.
Yeah.
So always save.
No, that was a
Every
similar
5
thing.
minutes.
A similar path that you had with me was that I was just everything I was doing was going to end up being used digitally anyways. So I took out the middleman and just started doing everything digitally. And I'm not a big Apple
where the
fan.
magic happens, people.
I guess, but it's like a lot of work, and I'm lazy. And I have that blue collar brain. I have to be productive, so I skip as much as I can.
I mean, there's a lot of digital or traditional techniques that I do digitally.
Yeah.
I even caught myself holding rulers up to the screen to measure things. I've got a what are they called? The rule of thirds ruler device that you can.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I can't think of the proper name of that device right now.
Another golden ratio, right?
Yeah, it's in that ratio, the 2 to.
It's
was
kind
it 2 to 1 and some
it's kind of
change?
like a compass, right? That sort of expands with different points
Right.
on it. You just lay it flat on the paper. And
And so I've got one of those that I hold up to the computer screen. So if
sure.
I'm sketching a character, it's like, okay, facial features, body structure, stuff like
Oh,
that. So I'm
nice.
up there doing the thing.
Yeah, so you never really do shake some of the traditional stuff.
And then when animating, it's like, okay, I need to hold this point. Well, okay, so what do? And I've caught myself putting tape on the screen too. But and I'm sure there's other tools that you can use. But, it's kind of a blending of traditional and digital.
Gary,
Nice
you
alive.
have this what I jokingly call this bandolier. This rolly fruit roll up of arsenal that you keep with you.
This Wookiee.
The Wookiee satchel. I don't know what. But you have a pretty wide range that you keep with you, and I say, and everywhere we go, you always have it with you. You always keep it handy. And I see you use a little bit of everything from it, and a lot of it is some of it actually I see Isaac and you share as far as different approaches. So please give us a walk through your weaponry.
The walkthrough. Well,
The tool roll.
Yeah, in terms of pencils, man.
We'll skip this part for right now, and then we'll go from here over. So what's cool is I used to carry a kneaded eraser like all the time. My problem was it kept getting dirty and shit kept sticking to it all the time, so I don't keep it in my bag anymore. But I need to get like a little container because I love the kneaded eraser. You can definitely cover a lot of area with it. But I like to use this guy right here. what brand this is, but they sell these things everywhere. These are like pen eraser.
Yeah, put it under the camera.
I want to show them over here too. You know? This little guy right here.
With the pen, but it erases.
I like it because, well, one, they're refillable, and two, you could just like get in there and like get these little nice, clean little breaks.
Oh yeah.
You just cut right into stuff.
It's good for highlighting.
Yeah, exactly. But I think different erasers serve really good purposes, because I would carry what both Isaac and Nate have there, but this is just kind of my go-to because it's more convenient and I can storage wise, you know.
I think something really interesting is the what did I say? The magic's in the middleman. But like the way your tools will affect the end result. Like when you have an eraser like that, and you can create your pencils and then go back and break those lines. Yeah. That's going to show up. Like even if you ink that piece, which you don't always, but if you were to ink that piece, you might break the ink line and not have thought to do that if you hadn't had that eraser in the first place.
It's a certain little texture.
So it'll affect the end result.
Or if there's just like a little tiny part, like on a jacket or something that needs to have an open area, if I'm going to ink it in black and white, and I don't want it to be a lost edge, I'll take that eraser and just kind of erase that little part there, and then I'll refine that dark edge so I can just, because you do. Sometimes you draw stuff too close together, and you're like, I'm going to lose that. If I do this in black and white, you got to make a little neck right there in the center.
It's a happy little eraser.
It is. It's one of I'd say my favorite eraser.
That's cool.
These guys here, I'm not sure if they make these anymore, but these Sanford Design H pencils. These are a couple that are ate up. I use these things down to the bone. That one has seen some good times there. But these guys here, I love them. These Sanfords, much like Isaac, he had some of the H pencils. I like these because I can get nice clean stuff like that. Or if I sharpen it differently, I can get more broad, darker stuff there. Probably not right away.
That's all right.
We're on this camera.
Just stuff like that. I like to work with fine lines and cross hatching a lot.
Yeah, and you get those clean lines.
Well, like one of the things I like to do is I like to start with this H for this, and then I'll use my mechanical, and this is a Stadler, I want to say. Stadler?
Oh, the Stadlers? Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've rubbed the name off of it. And what's cool is you can change like what lead is in there. You can tell them, remind yourself like what's in there. So you can turn it around. It has like H, H2.
Oh, that's clever. Yeah. So what is the biggest difference between the H and the H2? Is it just the
H is lighter, I believe. Isn't it the lightest?
Yeah. The more numbers to the H, the harder the lead is. So once it goes to like into B or F and then into the B's, then it's getting like really dark.
I gotcha.
And it'll smudge more when it gets softer like that.
I gotcha.
So like this one, I can go in like it's still an H, but I can go in slightly darker because the mechanical edge is there. Even though these are both H lead, I get like different results with them. So this is kind of like structure, and this is kind of like refining. Before I do like ink, if I choose to ink it or if I take it straight over digitally or whatever, I like to use this guy here. Sometimes I'll just start with like, let's see, this or this. If I'm doing comic stuff, I usually start with the non-photo blue pencil here, Prismacolor, or the red Prismacolor. A lot of artists use this method where they draw on the. Thank you. They draw they use this first, and I like it. That's one of the first things I started using when I was drawing my comic book style stuff. But I've been getting really good results with going straight from this H back to this H too. And if you look at any of my sketchbooks or whatever, you see me kind of going back and forth between those methods a lot. I like this guy here too. I rarely use him, but when I get a chance to, it's like a little lead holder.
Oh, I see. I was curious what that was. I thought
Draftsman.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that guy's really fun too. And I can get some really cool dark
It's
results
really
from that.
heavy, like
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely seen you use that one a lot.
Then you sharpen it with this guy here.
You know, and I've never been the guy that used the blue and red pencils. I know it's very popular. I know that's almost like probably an old school thing and a lot of it is because the blue doesn't show up when you scan it from your drawing onto a computer. You can omit that blue.
Yeah, and I would do that in Photoshop though. A lot of people rely just solely on the scanner to do that. Yeah, you're always. It doesn't matter how clean you think your drawing is. You're gonna have to go in and mess with it in Photoshop.
But some people just use just like a color pencil. Other people use like more specific. And is it the exact same, or is it basically like just the way they're gonna omit it? It doesn't matter to them.
You know, it's crazy because it really just depends on how they want to do it. Because there's some people that will draw in color pencil and then they'll just put like value tones in it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because digital has really like made this weird blurry like gray area for comic book production. You know, it's not as simple as like pencil, ink, color.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, roughs in Photoshop, refining in Photoshop. Some people even will do all their roughs in Photoshop, print them, and then draw them traditionally. There's so many different ways. It's just crazy how people like produce their pages now. In Graveyard Slaughter, I did my story, Killed One Eye Open, all traditionally with these guys here. This here, I did Graveyard Slaughter with this. And I did them all full 11 by 17 pages, you know, Bristol board, inked them, all that.
Yeah.
But the intro pages to the story, I drew this big. I took an 8.5 by 11, split it in half. I drew my pages on there. I had some comic book boards that I put on there from Photoshop, and then I just printed them and drew over that. But I drew them in pencil, took them into Photoshop, and then I painted everything in values. I penciled shit, but I didn't like ink it or anything. I just did all pencil, and then I just brought it in and just started knocking out values and, you know, bringing stuff forward, pushing stuff back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember that part in the book.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, that's all. It's done differently, completely different.
It looks different too.
Well, there was a huge movement also where they would have the initial blue or red sketches underneath, and then they would do their pencils and their line, and they would deliberately keep that those blue and reds underneath. Like there's something that's like a little bit behind the curtain, being able to see. There's like a certain dimension. I don't know if it's like
it's become a part of the art. Like
they just expect to see it. Like, oh no, this is hand drawn. You can tell because you left the blue in there, and it has its own. Like people have developed their style out of showing the grit behind it, but
usually that's more interesting to see anyhow because you can see the thought process of the
Right.
artists and what they were doing. You can see their searching lines, their final curves and shapes and stuff.
So obviously we have a lot more to go over, and we'll do these in other videos.
Yeah.
But like this is the stuff that each of us keep in our pockets in some way. I mean, the whole digital thing. I think you and I are going to go back and forth for doing a lot of different content.
But you have to include me in that because I do digital.
No, you're absolutely. That's what I was going to get to. Is that and that's there's a lot of different digital formats and different processes that you can recreate traditionally in digital, and I don't know. I look forward to that. But for now,
I mean, you got to think of it this way. There's this is the same thing as a pencil and paper, and if you can't use one, you're not going to be able to use the other.
Okay.
You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Facts. Right there, all day.
I think we just go cut to credits.
Yeah, roll credits.
The tool is not what makes the artist.
Yeah.
The artist is the artist themselves.
Yes.
So no matter.
I don't know, I'm kind of a tool.